Hello, everyone. Welcome to your Secure Advantage training. My name is Julie Poteat, and I have with me one of my agents, Emily Brown. We're going to be reviewing this product. I have a lot of questions about this product. It's a very good product. It's more traditional, and I would say that it would be more long-term for someone. There's not a one-time max out of pocket. You do get first dollar coverage for your for fixed indemnity before any deductible is met. And it's just more traditional. So if someone's used to having a higher deductible, this is definitely a good fit. I also would put someone that was starting a business, small business, looking for the long term, someone that's over 40 and older, you can pitch it to everyone. So first I want to show you how to build this plan. Okay, it's going to be different. All right. So here you would just do the drop down where you pick Secure Advantage. Now keep in mind, there is no Secure Advantage in Montana. Also, there are some states where you can only sell Secure Advantage, and that would be Colorado, South Dakota, and Delaware. Those are 3 states that do not have Premier Choice. Okay, so first, obviously, you make sure you put the sex correctly when you put them in here. Their height and weight will affect the price of the plan. Also, if they're a smoker or high blood pressure, it's a little bit different than building Premier Choice. So you want to pay attention to that. You will find that if you go into the application of this and you change their height and weight, their premium will change. If you click smoker or high blood pressure, the premium will go up. So make sure you're asking a lot of questions on the front end. The way that you build this plan, there are a couple of different options, okay? First, you're going to look at the co-insurance. Now, the co-insurance is going to determine the max out of pocket on these plans. 80/20 co-insurance is going to be a $2,000 max out of pocket. 70/30 co-insurance is going to be a $6,000 max out of pocket. And the 60/40 co-insurance will be a $10,000 max out of pocket. So that's how you know what your max out of pocket is what the co-insurance is, okay? So let's say I would pick 80/20. The next, you can also pick between a $7,500 or a $10,000 deductible. Most of the time, I just use a $5,000 deductible, but you can pick any one. Obviously, if you pick a $5,000 deductible, it's going to be a more expensive plan than if you picked a $10,000 deductible, okay? So for this one, I'm going to pick a $5,000 deductible. Now, you'll see the drop down here. I always do unlimited plan max. That way they can keep this plan until they're 65, okay? It would make the plan a little bit lower cost if you do the other options. This is gonna give you a limited amount, but this one is they could just keep it and keep it and keep it. The max out of pocket never goes away. So I recommend, get with your FTA or your upline, I recommend doing the unlimited lifetime plan, okay? Now, as you probably know from your search, that these are guaranteed rate for 12 months, where Premier Choice is a guaranteed rate for 15 months. Okay, so that's going to be a difference. Also, there are drop downs. Make sure you're paying attention, especially in other states, which one you can pick the network. There are some states where it drops down and there's other choices. So I typically pick United Healthcare if applicable to that state. The deductible options on this one, I always recommend in the next screen, putting a executive diamond, which basically this is obsolete. This would be totally canceled out. So obviously if you made it a $2,500 deductible, it's going to be more expensive than if you made it a $5,000 deductible. This is basically going to be canceled out anyway. This is, if you have an executive diamond, always do executive diamond. Now, this is important to pay attention to. So on Premier Choice, there's no jumping, but it is a fixed indemnity. Fixed indemnity means if you don't use all the money, they get checks back a couple weeks later. This one has a fixed indemnity portion for regular doctor's office visits, where Premier Choice does not have that on there. So it's when you pick the level here of what you're doing, you're also picking how many doctor visits or if for sickness and accident as well. So if you pick level 1, they're going to have 3 per person. If you pick level 2, they're going to have 4 per person per year. And if you pick level 3, they're going to have 5 per person per year. And this is for sickness or accident for doctor visits. If you don't use those within a year, they're going to roll over. So I always recommend picking plan 3. okay? Because then you'll have kind of a selling point later on. All right. Here, you can pick MedGuard. I obviously do that all the time. Always pick this, the executive diamond on here. Okay. That's going to cancel out that $5,000. Just going to kind of override it. You can use this instead of the other. So that way you have a $500 deductible for any accident or injury. Okay. So we get to the screen. Okay. And this is how much it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at just what it is when you're in here. And then after I'm done explaining what everything is, I'm going to pitch it to you. Okay. So here, it looks a little bit different. Okay. It's the 80/20. It says 5,000 for accident. But remember, if you've done executive diamond down here, that's going to just override the other. So it's only 500 for accidents. Okay. Now, this is something I want to point out with the health and the wellness on here. It's a wellness plus. So on here, as you can see, on Premier Choice, you're probably very familiar with this down here. Okay. And as you know, if they don't use all these benefit amounts, they're not going to lose them. They get money back. So for example, this is going to seem very similar to Premier Choice, the bottom portion. So let's say they went and they had a physical and it was $250. They leave, they don't have a copay, and they don't have a copay on this either. After they leave, they're going to send the bill to United Healthcare or PHCS or whichever the network. The network's going to reduce the bill, typically on United Healthcare between 50 to 80%. Same thing with Cigna. So just because they were in network and the doctor took it, this 250, let's just go on the low end and say it was, 50%. 250 divided by 2. Just because they were in network, that $250 bill became $125. There's always a step happening first before these benefits are subtracted off the bill. Now for physical here, and this is the same for Premier Choice, this goes the same for them. You see that it's $200 here. So what the company would do is, now we're down to $125. The company is going to pay off the remaining balance on a fixed indemnity, that means fixed amount plan. And the $75, the client 2 weeks later will receive a check back. Okay. Now on Premier Choice, on their sickness and accident, it's a specified disease and sickness plan, which is different. This one actually has the fixed indemnity on their doctor's office visits. So for example, each person, can be sick or accident up here. That's not the same as Premier Choice. It's like a little plus up here. So let's say they go to the doctor. Do you see where it says 3 visits per year per person? This is each person. 4 visits per year per person, 5 visits per year per person. If they don't use these, just the top row, they're not going to lose them. They're going to roll over and accumulate like minutes on a cell phone. Okay, so this is something that Premier Choice doesn't have. And they get this right away. They do not have to pay a $5,000 deductible or anything. This is first dollar coverage for their doctor's visits. So let's say Emily went to the doctor and she paid it would have been $150. She still doesn't have a copay. Let's say they reduce the bill by half, so now we're down to $75. Well, for that doctor's office visit for sickness or accident, they're going to pay the remainder of the bill, and Emily, just for going to the doctor, is going to get a $25 check sent back to her about 2 to 3 weeks later, and she can use that money for anything she wants. She doesn't have to use it for medical. Okay, so they do get first dollar coverage on this as well before they have to satisfy the $5,000 deductible. Okay, so whenever you pick the plan 1, 2, and 3, as you can see here, that is also going to affect how many doctor visits, the upfront benefits that they get. And again, these are per person and they roll over, but as you can see here, they also get 1 urgent care visit per person per year. Plus each person gets, here they get 5 built in. It mirrors what's up here, chiropractor visits right away before any deductible is met. Okay. So really with these plans, the only time they're honestly even going to touch this deductible is if they have some kind of major sickness. Okay, so a major sickness, a major illness, they're hospitalized, that kind of thing. But honestly, their day-to-day stuff is usually going to zero out, or they'll make money back or have a minimal amount out of pocket, and they roll over. So let's say this year, me and Emily were on a plan together. I went 2 times this year and she went 3 times this year to the doctor. Next year, those are going to roll over. So I'll have 8 visits next year, and she's going to have 7 visits next year. And it keeps going like that, only on the doctor's office visits, not on the chiropractor visits, etc. Okay. So usually when I pitch this, it kind of goes back and forth. I usually will just pitch Premier Choice as an option, and you guys know how to do that. And then I'll come to this as another option. Okay. The benefit to this is it's not a one-time max out of pocket. There's not the Premier Med. So if you know that on Premier Choice, each person, they can use the one-time 3,000 max out of pocket. Once they use that per person, it's not like they use it one time for the family. It's not available anymore. It's not like they're going to kick them off Premier Choice, but you basically just have them on a specified disease and sickness plan. This, they can stay until Medicaid, they can get cancer every year, it doesn't matter. It's going to reset every year, but it is a very good deal, okay? So if I were to pitch this, if I were to go over to, sorry. Here. If I'm going to compare it to Obamacare, okay, I'm going to kind of look at the price and go, okay, that's what they have over there. Maybe I'm going to pitch this as a 70-30, right? Because I want to be competitive with what's going on over at Obamacare while I'm making this plan. Okay, always go to the 5,000 to bring it down a little bit. And let's say I just went $20 and $20 here. Okay, that's kind of how I would build it. I usually just come over here and build it with that, but you can always add the ancillaries on. Whenever I pitch, I add them on at the end. Okay, so let's go ahead and pretend that I'm reading through the script and I'm going to pitch Secure Advantage. And again, the reason that I would do this is if someone's starting their own business, I want it to be something I can keep long-term. Okay. Okay, Emily. All right, so first, Emily, I'm going to show you Obamacare plans. These are also known as ACA plans. Now, over here, we have a couple different carriers. We've got Ambetter, CareSource. Hang on a minute. Sorry, let me start this over. 34677. Realize I had the wrong zip code. Don't judge me. So, Emily, over here, if we were to start with Obamacare, we have Ambetter, Bright Health, Florida Blue HMO, Molina, and Oscar. Those are the type of plans over here. Those are the carriers. And something you want to pay attention to, Emily, would be network. Network means how many doctors take your coverage and how big of an area are you covered. If we were to choose Obamacare, you have HMO. If you think of the word home, that's a good way to remember it, Emily. That means you have coverage basically in your county. If you go out of your county and something were to happen to you out of your county, you have very minimal coverage and you could be stuck with a lot of bills. There's not, the max out of pocket doesn't apply in that situation. The other type over here, I'm sorry, with HMO, you also have to get a referral to see a specialist. So Emily, let's say you wanted to go see a dermatologist on an HMO. On an HMO, you couldn't directly call up the dermatologist and make an appointment. You would have to call your primary care doctor, make an appointment, take off a day of work, show him the spot on your arm that you're concerned with. He can either say no, or you're fine, or he can write you a referral to go see a dermatologist. Then you'd have to make a separate appointment with the dermatologist, take another day off work, and go to see a dermatologist. On an EPO, there are no referrals, so that is a good thing. Exclusive provider organization. The only issue with the EPO is very few doctors take it. It's a very small network, okay? That's all I have available over here, okay? So Emily, the lowest cost plan over here would be $709 a month with Ambetter Essential Care 1. And that has an $8,300 deductible. Do you know how deductibles work, Emily?
No, can you explain it, please?
Sure. So a deductible is the amount of money that you have to pay for bills before the insurance starts kicking in and splitting the cost with you. So let's say you had this plan. You'd be paying $709 a month. You'd have to be paying full price every time you go to the doctor until you accumulate $8,300 in bills. And then the insurance starts splitting the cost with you, 50-50, 60-40, 80-20. Now you do get a free physical once a year, but as you can see, you're kind of making up for it with the high deductible. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Perfect. All right, so Emily, let's go ahead and check out the lower deductible plans over here and see what those are running. So I do see a plan over here with Bright Healthcare that's a bronze, zero medical deductible. EPO, that's that really small network. It's going to be $825 a month. It does have a zero deductible with an $8,555 max out of pocket. Now, as I mentioned before, all the plans over here, you just have two types of networks. I try to get all my clients on PPOs if possible. That's the type of coverage that you're covered nationwide and you don't have to get referrals to see a specialist. Now, Emily, the plans that we're looking on over here are really intended for people with major pre-existing conditions, or they just have very, very low income. So we'll come back and look at these in a minute. I do also have a plan over here on the private sector. This is going to be with United Healthcare. This does have a $5,000 deductible. But it's only a $500 deductible for accidents. And on this one, you do get upfront benefits, first dollar coverage on your doctor visits and your well checks. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. So that would be running you $713.72 a month. And this one is the PPO, that's the nationwide coverage, okay? We'll come back and look at this in a minute. Which plan would you like me to look through, Emily?
Let's go back to that private one.
Private one? Okay, so let's go ahead and see if this is a good fit. Now, this one is a couple of different health insurance companies. You have Southern Consumers Alliance, Freedom Life for the underwriters, and United Healthcare. United Healthcare owns them all. This one is a PPO network. Now, and I'm sorry, guys, just to interrupt really quick, I've already qualified them on health. You guys know how to do that, so we're going to skip ahead. Now, on this plan, you do have a $5,000 deductible, but honestly, Emily, that's really only if you have a major sickness, is the only time you'd ever be satisfying that deductible. You do have an accident deductible over here of $5,000, but you have another section of the plan because you're on an association, which kind of cancels that one out. So the most you'd ever be out of pocket for any accident or injury is just $500. So
what? That's crazy.
Yes, yes, yes. And on this plan, you also get first dollar coverage on your day-to-day stuff as well before even meeting any deductible at all. So for example, Emily, you and your husband, each of you has 5 built-in doctor visits with benefits each year. Now, if you don't use them, you're not going to lose them. They're going to roll over and accumulate. Okay. Now, Emily, do you see where it says doctor's office visit $100?
Yeah, am I gonna have to pay $100?
No, Emily, that's not a copay. Let me kind of explain what that is. So there's a step happening in between. So the way that this works is you go to the doctor's office, you get treated, you don't have a copay, and you walk out and you leave. After you leave, first, the insurance company, as long as they're in network, is going to send the bill to United Healthcare. United Healthcare is going to apply something called an adjudicated rate. That means they've made a contract. It's an in-network discount, so it's going to reduce the bill somewhere typically between 50 to 80%, okay? So there's a step happening first, all right? Now, Emily, remember that $100 that we looked at a second ago?
Yeah, the not copay?
Right, right. So that's going to be the second thing that's subtracting off the bill. And Emily, since it's a fixed indemnity plan on that portion, anything that you don't use, you're not going to lose. They're going to email or they're going to mail you any remaining balance. So let me show you what that looks like, Emily. Let's say you went to the doctor and it was $150. You have no copay and you left, okay?
Okay.
First, they're going to send that bill to United Healthcare. United Healthcare is going to reduce the bill anywhere between 50 to 80% typically. Let's just go on the low end, Emily, and say they reduced the bill by 50%. Now we're down to $75 just because that doctor said, yes, I take United Healthcare. Does that make sense so far?
Yes, it does.
Now, here's the cool part of the fixed indemnity. Do you see the $100 there?
Mm-hmm.
So what this company is going to do is they're going to take the $100 benefit you have, they're going to pay off the remaining balance. So you don't owe anything to the doctor. And 2 weeks later, you're going to get a check in the mail for $25 and you can go shopping at Ross if you want to. It's your money to spend on whatever you want. And that is 5 times a year per person for this. Everything that you see on here, you get 5 chiropractor visits per person, 1 urgent care visits per person. You do get first dollar coverage on your day-to-day stuff, and you may end up getting a little bit money back. Okay, makes sense?
Oh yeah, that's great.
Okay, great. And Emily, if anything major were to happen to you, like cancer, heart attack, stroke, kidney failure, or terminal illness, this company is going to write a check to you in the amount of $12,988. Now, Emily, you and I both know that $12,000 is not going to cover cancer, correct?
Right.
But in that situation, that would cover your deductible and max out of pocket. So you'd be protected. You wouldn't have any financial bills, and any unused funds you could just put in the bank. And the reason they do that is if you have something major, you're probably not going back to work. They want to make sure that you can take care of your hospital bills and your personal bills. And that way you can just focus on getting better. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And with this plan, because we picked 70/30, you also have a 6,000 max out of pocket. So every year that resets once a year, but that's kind of basically the plan. Is there any doctors that you want me to look up, Emily?
No.
Okay.
Just, I don't have a doctor, Julie. Can you look one up for me?
I sure can. What town are you in, Emily?
Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida. Love it. Sunshine State, beautiful.
Tampa Bay.
I've always wanted to visit there. Okay, so Emily, let's just kind of see what kind of doctors are in network. So Emily, just primary care providers in Tampa alone, you have 2,086 doctors that will take your insurance. Makes sense?
Cool.
Okay, great. All right. So just to recap this, Emily, this is a fixed indemnity plan on your day-to-day stuff. Any unused benefits you're not going to lose. They're either going to roll over and accumulate for your doctor's office visits each year. Any unused amounts, you're going to get a check back, and that's first dollar coverage on those. Any accident or injury is just $500. And then, there is this, if it's like a major sickness surgery, there is a $5,000 deductible and a $6,000 max on a pocket. Do you have any questions on this, Emily?
Nope, you covered all your bases.
Wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and send this brochure to you right now.
I'll be looking.
Okay, Emily, I just sent you the email. It's going to say from Freedom Life. Okay, I have a copy of it as well. Freedom Life is just the underwriters. It's owned by United Healthcare. And if you open that up, you can see the brochure. It's all interactive, everything that I just sent you. Okay,
Cool.
you have a copy of that one. Okay, great. Okay, do you want me to look through any of these Obamacare plans, Emily?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, all right. And when were you looking to start? Tomorrow. Okay, so here's what we do. We have to get you approved for these plans. Now, I will mention, Emily, now there's 3 things these plans won't cover with benefits, and that's maternity, mental health, or drug and alcohol rehab. Would any of that be an issue?
Nope.
Okay, all right, so this is the one. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, Emily. We're going to fill out a free application and send it to the insurance company to get you approved. It's a very simple process. We're going to put your basic demographic information. What state were you born in? We're going to pick the day that you're going to start, your form of payment, obviously, and about 10 to 20 medical questions. And afterwards, we're going to pick a time for the verifiers to call you. Because of HIPAA laws, they do have to record you to get your verbal authority to pull medical records. Okay, so Emily, is that your legal spelling of your first name?
Sure is.
That's how you do it. Okay, so that's how you pitch Secure Advantage. That's just kind of how I do it. I don't use a script. You can kind of, as long as you kind of follow those guidelines. I love Secure Advantage. I know lots of agents that only sell Secure Advantage. They really like the fact that it's not a one-time max out of pocket, and that they get first dollar coverage on their day-to-day visits, and that it's fixed indemnity, that they do get money back on those plans, which Premier Choice, the only fixed indemnity portion is only on the health and wellness. And the other one that's fixed indemnity like this is Health Access Due. Same thing. If they don't use all the benefits on those plans, they'll get a check back. Not on Premier Choice, except for the health and wellness. Okay. All right. Well, I hope this has been helpful for you guys. And I guess I just want to wish you good luck and have a good day.